I'm a child
Okay, so
that can't do computers.
let's just step back from like metaverse and talk about like what like crypto, and let's
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
try to
that's-
understand decentralization maybe.
I think that's a good starting spot.
Yeah, because that's become like
That's such a buzzword.
Yeah,
Like when
it's-
people, like you said, the people that understand crypto or say they understand it, like don't understand it
yeah.
all. And then people would try to explain to me like, oh, it's decentralized. I'm like, okay, what does that mean? They're like,
yeah.
it's decentralized.
decentralized.
I'm
Come
like,
on, man.
But I don't know what it means at all.
Yeah, honestly, I definitely do not either fully, because I thought I did. Like last time I was on the podcast, I was
Yeah.
like, I think I have a majority understanding. In this past semester, I did like undergraduate research for emerging blockchain technology and really learning how these like consensus protocols work and stuff.
Dude, Lucy's insane.
Yeah, sorry, I like the dog.
Yeah, she's cute. No, she's gonna, now that you threw it, she's gonna keep coming back.
Oh,
to
I
you.
should know.
Well,
Okay.
Hopefully she sits down.
All right.
Whatever.
All right. So like, I think one of the best examples I try to use with people is think about right now, for a company like Uber to exist, they have this awesome service that they can offer the public. A platform where you can pair people needing a ride with people wanting to earn money and give rides out. That's just like, this is just one example of a company or a service and how it's offered today in quote unquote, like the web 2.0 world, the world that we live in. Uber was started by people who, built a web/mobile app and a platform to allow this service to occur. You give your money to the company, they pay the driver, and they'll take their cut and reinvest that into hiring employees, building out a marketing division, improving the product, doing all the stuff that companies do, right? Web 3.0 eliminates the need for kind of like a central entity to exist. So let's use the Uber example.
Central entity.
So Uber, in this case, being like the central authority, the owner of this service,
We're
the
the
company,
middleman.
the middleman. So like in a Web 3.0 world, I, as an individual, could say I had the idea for Uber. I'm just going to hold it so she doesn't freak out. Let's say I had that idea for Uber and I wanted to build it on like a Web 3.0 platform. One of the most popular is Ethereum. Like most people know what Ethereum is. That most people know what Ether token is. That's like the coin that's worth like $3 or $4 grand right now.
Yeah.
There's a really powerful underlying platform behind that coin. And the simplest way I can put it is it's like a global supercomputer. So if you want to build an app right now without like blockchain technology, if I wanted to build like a normal Uber app, I would write the code on my computer, put it on Apple's App Store, and then a user would download it and run that software on their phone. So there's a couple like central authorities there. There's, me building the app, like the user can only run the app that I make. Oh, geez, you scared me. And it's not like that user has any transparency into the code behind the app. Like they only see what I let them see, right? Same like on Facebook, you only get to see the next post that comes up in order. You don't get to see the algorithm behind how they decide what that post is. Similarly, the App Store is a middleman, right? I, the developer, and you, the user, are at the will of Apple. Like if they decided we're shutting down the App Store tomorrow, so many hundreds of thousands of businesses just out of luck. Yeah, they're fucked. And so many, even more consumers, right? Imagine if you couldn't download apps. Like that would be a shitty life.
Not good.
Right. So where I'm going with this, a Web 3.0 world kind of eliminates dependency on these central authorities, eliminates the need for an app store, eliminates the need for Uber, the company, to exist.
It would just be me and the driver.
Kind of, yeah. So there'll be a public, it's called a smart contract, usually.
I've heard it.
Yeah.
Don't know what it is.
So a smart contract is like code that runs on this global supercomputer. And I can write the code to do whatever I want. So I can write a smart contract for the case of Uber that says, if James wants a ride from X to Z, we're going to go look for the nearest driver. We'll look at the fair market price and, he'll put his money and we'll get to like, the money can be Ethereum, it can be US dollars. Forget that. This is just like code that exists on the public blockchain. You can pay into this smart contract and it will, with 100% certainty and 100% clarity, you as the customer and the driver as the service provider both can look at the code for this smart contract and know exactly what it's doing. Like there's no trust needed. So when you go on Uber and you put your money in, you're kind of trusting that the app's going to do what it says it's going to do. You're trusting that a driver's going to show up. You're trusting that the money's going to get to the driver. What if one day Uber just kept collecting money but stopped sending drivers? Like they'd get a lot of money before people realized like, oh shit. Smart contracts provide transparency. So I say like it's clear and simple, but it's not simple. Like you would have to understand the code behind that smart contract to really get what it's doing. And that's why like you haven't seen these types of apps yet.
Yeah.
Well, a couple of reasons. Like they're expensive to build. Ethereum being the most popular of these, like they're called like layer 1 protocols. I think maybe I'm getting that wrong. They're like the bedrock that this new Web 3.0 economy can be built on top of. They're expensive to write apps for because in order for that code to run, you need like the Ethereum network to be supporting it.
Yeah. How does it support it?
Right. So here's where we have to decide how deep you want to go down the computer science. Like, so when you run the Uber app on your phone, you know, there's a processor in your phone to like running the code for it. And then Uber pays for servers that will facilitate the delivery of data between you and the driver. Now, when we're not paying for AWS, you know what AWS is?
No.
Sorry. Yeah. AWS, I mean, we're going on a tangent. AWS is like Amazon Web Services.
Okay.
So basically, it's like a cloud provider.
Okay.
Almost any app you use probably pays Amazon to host like their data.
Oh, I think I did talk to Mike and someone about this.
Yeah, so like that's, believe it or not, Amazon's like biggest business is in providing cloud hosting. So
because you need somewhere to store the data, and that's where it's in Alexandria, right, in Virginia.
I mean,
the computer.
It's all over the world.
Yeah,
it's
they got
not
a bunch of it
spot.
because it takes.
Yeah,
you need your whole keep it cool, do all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so there's a lot of middlemen between you and that Uber driver right now. If we're taking all of that out, like that's a pretty challenging engineering question to. You still got to get the data from you, James, to the driver, and we got to have somewhere that executes this code. Like, you know, it's not magic. You can't just run code in thin air. You need to have hardware somewhere in the world, like actual silicon chips that are doing these computations.
Is this where the Ethereum supercomputer comes in? It uses everyone's computer to do this?
Yeah, kind of. So exactly. Like right now, Ethereum is primarily like proof of work, where this is where you've seen maybe videos of people setting up big computers to spin the fans, and then they get paid in Ethereum, like mining. That's what mining is. Proof of work is where you do exactly that. You dedicate your computing power to helping the network like continue operating, and in exchange you get paid Ethereum tokens for it. So that's like one way of doing it. They are currently trying to pivot Ethereum into like Ethereum 2.0, where instead of proof of work, it would be something called proof of stake.
Because proof of work is what Bitcoin's running on, right?
Yeah.
And that's why it takes so much energy.
Yeah.
It's not environmentally friendly.
100% correct. Yeah. Bitcoin got a lot of flack for that in the past year. And it does use a ton of energy.
But they say the pros outweigh the cons of the environment. The supporters of Bitcoin.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you want to go down that, think about like Visa, right? So Ethereum's value proposition is way more complex than I think most people really believe.
Is there a set amount of Ethereum like there is Bitcoin?
No. The Ethereum, there's no limit to how many Ethereum can be created, but the rate at which it is minted is like a set rate. Yeah.
So that keeps it stable, the currency?
Yeah.
Like its value?
Well, stable. I mean, there's always going to be more printed, more Ethereum.
I don't want to like spend my Ethereum because it's going to go up. Like I know the US dollar is stable enough. Like my $1 is going to be worth $1.
So, all right, that's a good debate in like the cryptocurrency space. When you write the code for like a new currency, you have to make some decisions. Like, is it going to be a fixed amount of coins like Bitcoin? Is it going to be inflationary, where the value of one token will go down over time, or deflationary, where the value is actually going to go up? Like that's an issue with like Ethereum. Not an issue, maybe. For some people, it's a really good thing. The value of the coin, for the most part, keeps going up.
Yeah.
And And that's like, I mean, most of that right now is fueled by belief in this network becoming an important part of like society in the future. But as far as like a currency goes, it's really not a good trait to have. Like, imagine if the US dollar increased in value.
I would never spend.
Yeah.
Why would I spend my money?
So it's not a great currency. In fact, you want your currency to be like slightly inflationary, where the actual currency is going to go down in value a little bit each year.
Yeah.
And that encourages people to spend, not to hold it. And you probably heard Elon say that same thing on Lex Fridman.
Yeah.
Where were we going with that?
Dude, we're on tangent because new things keep getting brought up.
We started with Cayenne. Now,
yeah.
Wait. So
I think we were talking about is Ethereum fixed?
Yeah. So it's not. There'll be more
there we
Ethereum.
Go.
But
yeah. But so do you think? Well, I'm fine going down the rabbit hole.
Sure.
Because it will all loop together eventually.
Yeah.
So do you think it will help because it's not just going to be in the future one currency is going to reign all, right? It's going to be a community of currencies, or do you think it's just going to be one?
I like to make a prediction like that would be pretending I know more than I do.
Because I feel like it could help if there's some currencies that are stable and fixed, and some that fluctuate, because then you get the balance of both. It's I want to go buy a beer, I'm going to use my Bitcoin because it's more stable. I know it's not going to go up in price. I don't know what the uses. What is the uses of not having a fixed amount of coin?
So,
it kind of seems silly because like there's a set amount of gold,
right?
Like that's what the dollar's backed. Well, allegedly that's what the dollar's
backed. Yeah. Well, not anymore. They actually stopped.
Dude, that pisses me off. People use that argument like, "Oh, crypto is bullshit. The dollar's backed by gold."
So I was actually talking to someone today who owns a very wealthy older person I know with a lot of Bitcoin, and he's still in his high net worth circles has to argue with people all the time over there's nothing backing a cryptocurrency. What other service or product do you know that can offer instant global transfer of wealth with no fraudulency? Like there's never been a false transaction on the Bitcoin
because that's of the ledger.
Yeah.
Is it all to make sure to fraudulate? It would be waste.
And it transcends any country boundaries. It transcends regulatory restraints, and the funds settle, instantly within like 10 minutes or so. That, like for example, Visa, the biggest payment provider in the world. A lot of people think it's like instant. When you go to the store and you swipe your credit card, the store is going to get the money, but the funds don't settle for like 90 days.
Really?
So like, there's this big misconception of how the financial system really
no one
works.
understands it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't either. I'm not gonna pretend I do.
Yeah.
But like a good example is like Venmo. When I send you money, all that's really getting exchanged is like an IOU from me to Venmo, and then from Venmo my account to Venmo your account, and then if you withdrew that money from Venmo to your bank account. And the way these IOUs get settled is, in the US at least, and most of the world, ACH bank transfers, which is like a fancy word for like a really slow like transfer of data from one computer to another. So like these big banks.
Yeah, don't they use like the old code?
Yeah, it's a COBOL.
Maybe what I don't know what it is.
A very old coding language. Yeah, and these systems run like once every 2 or 3 business days, like on batch, which means like unlike a Facebook message which sends right when you send it, this is like a batch process. So like they'll queue up like 100 transfers.
Lucy, can you please chill?
Yeah, she's really wild up. They'll queue up like hundreds of transactions and then send them all like at the end of the day. Yeah. And that's not ideal.
That doesn't seem like the best way to do it.
Right.
Lucy, sit.
So to someone saying like there's no real value or backing behind a crypto like Bitcoin, I mean, there has to be some value, right, behind a system that can.
I mean, that seems valuable. On its own. And like, why would you need to? I feel like if we all agree on it, like that's kind of how the dollar works. We're all like, hey, this is worth this.
Yeah.
Like, if you had, you're in the Sahara Desert, haven't had water for days, and someone comes up and it's like, here's a water. It's like 3 million. You're gonna pay it.
Right.
Or if you have 1 million water bottles, when someone comes up with a water, you're like, it's not worth that. It's like what you agree. I don't think that really worked, but
I knew what you were going for.
You know what what I'm trying to say.
Supply and demand.
Supply and demand. But, oh my, Lucy, can you please sit? Please.
So do you want to reel it into a more like real life application of
something? Yeah. So what are the effects? What does a crypto world look like? Because it seems like that's the direction we're going in.
Yeah.
Right now, it seems like a lot of people they think it's going to go big and they're just trying to make a quick buck on it. But like, what is, I don't know if you know or if anyone knows, like what it's actually going to look like and how the world's going to function with this new currency. Because it seems like it
I think
connect
like
everything.
currency is really only one part of the like crypto, I don't know, future. And it's the one like most people are interested in because people have made a lot of money off of it and they continue to do so. But I think the more likely like short-term consumer products you might see will be stuff like a very simple version of those smart contracts becoming practical. So for instance, like when you go to sell a house, there's like a legal process that you have to hire a lawyer to like, I forget the term for it, but escrow. That's it. When you're buying a house, like you put the money for the house in escrow, which means like you don't own it, but neither does the person you're buying the house from. It's limbo, yeah. And you need a lawyer to help you do that. And then the deed of the house has to get transferred to you. And only once like all of these terms are set and met, the money comes out of escrow and the seller gets his money and you get the house, right? So there's all these parties that have to come in and make judgment on like certain terms of a deal. Like, did you pay the full amount? Did it meet all the inspection things? If yes, and all these lawyers agree on it, then we'll go ahead and we'll give you the money and we'll give you the house. That seems like something that should be automated, right? Like it could be automated. So I think
checks
like,
all these boxes.
Yeah. And I mean, there's software that can do that, but the software is just kind of abstracting away legal processes. Like they'll still have a lawyer on the back end, signing off on all these deals and whatnot. Smart contracts really like make that stuff 100% just like certainty. So
where would we use this?
So I could write, this sounds weird, but I could make an NFT for my house, right? And an NFT doesn't have to be just like a JPEG that sells for 30 grand.
Yeah.
It can be like a token that there will only ever be one of. So something like the deed for a house.
So you could do it like with stuff like that.
Yeah. So if you got
the physical world.
Yeah. So this is a difficult concept to like bridge the gap between what exists on the blockchain and what exists in the real world. You need some sort of bridge that says like, even if I made an NFT for my house and I built a smart contract that said, like if I wanted to sell you my house, I have an NFT that represents the deed to my house. You have the money to pay for the house. If I wrote a smart contract, that would be like our lawyer. The smart contract clearly says, if James pays this much money, then this deed will get released to him.
Is it going to be in that simple terms?
I mean, it should be. Right now,
I feel like lawyer stuff as it is now is very
it's always
construed and normal people can't read it, which is a big, I think, problem.
We'll probably have a different problem where the actual logic behind it will be simple, but the code that runs that smart contract is not simple. Like it's code, it's computer code.
Yeah.
So you have to like bridge the gap between making the code as simple as possible so that normal people like you and I should be able to understand 100% exactly what's going to happen.
Because you don't want to be bamboozled.
Yeah. You don't want like a hidden line of code in there to say, oh, but just kidding, we're actually sending the house and the money to some guy in China. Like
that'd be
bad. So it's got to be really simple, really understandable by both parties. And if you can build like a scalable product like that, that's like, a tremendous value. You no longer need all these extra companies and parties to help you do transactions. You can just write contracts to do it. What I was getting to though is like, all right, you get the NFT to my house, I get your money. What if I just stay in the house? You need to like know that whatever deal we did on the blockchain has backing in the real world. And that's something like people are trying to build these like bridges between real world events and the blockchain. So maybe a more understandable example is sports betting. In the US and all over the world, there's a lot of like regulations around gambling and and betting. blockchain, believe it or not, there's some really cool projects on like betting on stuff.
Before we keep going any further with this, like you say all these smart contracts, where is this happening? Like, can I do this on my phone? Like, am I just going to be able to like go on a website and type in, I'm selling my house.
.com.
Yeah. Like
I'm selling my house.com.
Like who's writing these contracts? Like, where is it happening?
It's tough to like have this conversation without getting into the comp sci specifics, but when you like go to any website, facebook.com, that's almost the equivalent of you walking onto like Facebook's campus, because now you're in their world, you're trusting that website, and everything on it is like under Facebook's control. When you're like working on the blockchain, your computer is like just putting data out there for anyone to listen to. And like the actual way that you would do it, for now, most people will do it through a website like Coinbase, or there's other, I don't know, there's like Pancake Swap is like a,
never heard
of that one. I know. I like there are websites that make it simpler and they have like an interface.
Yeah.
But the back end of it is really just your computer like screaming to the world like, oh, I'm selling my house to Kyle. And then I have to be on the other end saying, yeah, I'm selling him my house. And this whole network is just listening, and they're like writing it down. Like they're like saying, okay, that transaction happened.
So you project it to the entire world.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. But like your question, where is this actually happening? There are companies building interfaces like websites that make it simpler.
So are they just going to be the middleman? Are we creating new middlemen?
So that's like where it's difficult, because you want to build services without a middleman, but to make it simple for people, you almost need that middleman.
Yeah. Fuck.
Yeah.
It's the same
and
thing.
That's why this hasn't taken off yet. That's why you're not buying a house on the blockchain.
There needs to be a way. Someone needs to just be very selfless, not do it for money, and make an app or something where I could just type in a house,
but where's
and
that
it creates
app
the code. From? No, I'm saying like, you know how Signal, someone's like doing it for free, nonprofit, like that type of thing.
But how do you download Signal?
Fuck. Damn it. I don't know.
Yeah.